Our heart is dancing as we talk to Dante from the Jose Limon Company. We met him previously, but now we're going to have a nice, longer conversation. Take it away, Dante.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Eva. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So I little birdie told me you do dance classes at Bryant Park for free on
Yes.
Saturday morning.
That is true. Yeah, it's open to the public. And we have been given the green light to reconvene. So two Saturdays ago, we had our first open outdoor class. Everyone had masks. Everyone was safely distanced. And it was a small gathering. And this past Saturday, we ended up having a really big gathering, but it was just enough. I think we hit like 25 people, and that's enough space so everyone can have room and nobody's too close, and you can still see the teacher. And it's for anyone who wants to give it a try.
It's fun exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's great to be out. I mean, like we need like that human connection so much right now. So it's so nice to be around other humans and just move your body and breathe and dance a little bit and have some great music. And it's just another experience you need to help shake all of the weight that we've been experiencing these past couple months. Just kind of get out of ourselves a little bit and explore and try something new. And it just changes your perspective for the day and gives you a little information about Jose Limon and the company, and gives you like this community feeling that I think is really important right now.
Because you're a choreographer, so you're creating all these dances. What comes first? Do you come up with the dance steps first and then think, oh, this music will be good? Because I saw that your Fathers and Son, you use Danny Boy, and you normally don't think of Danny Boy with Fathers and Son, but it worked. It was so moving.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's my personal choreography. And so, yeah, sometimes I'll hear a song and I'm like, oh, I really want to do something to that. I really want to create something to that. And other times I'll be creating movement, and then I'll search for work after work, and I'll just find a bunch of different music until like two things really make sense. So it depends on my moment, depends what I'm looking for.
Do you teach from Palm Springs?
I have been, yeah.
This is amazing. I mean, we couldn't have done this at all. I've been saying quite a bit that how would we have gotten through this pandemic without the web? 10 years ago, we couldn't have done any of this, and we would all be really crazy.
It'd be a really different scenario, agreed. Like we do, so Limon does online classes on Instagram every day at 3 p.m. And we have people taking class from India, from Sicily. There was one person who took a class. It was about a half hour from my grandfather's village in Sicily. Like, like how else would you have this kind of reach in the rest of the world? It's pretty incredible. In September, we're kicking off Hispanic Heritage Month with a film release party that we've made during the quarantine. And the accessibility that this film will have can reach around the globe in a way that it never was able to before. And I think having that kind of reach and being able to allow this work to impact people around the world in ways that are new to us, I think is so exciting for the company, so excited for art, so excited for people who feel they need something in their lives and they haven't found it yet, and they have this opportunity to see this work, and maybe that could be the one thing that just changes them, because I know the work changed me that way.
Because you've reached to more countries and everything, and they've now heard of Jose Limon. Now, will you be booked for like more of a world tour with more places to accomplish for everyone to see your dance?
That's the plan. I certainly hope so.
Well, that would be great.
Yeah, we have a residency coming up at Katzbahn in upstate New York in November and December. And the idea that we'll be able to use technology to have teachers come in and teach all via the screen, you know what I mean? We have so many more options now than we did before. Yeah, it just gives us so many more possibilities and so many more ways to navigate through training and developing and reaching people. It's, challenging, but really exciting time too.
Oh, I've always been curious. I mean, what actually drew you? Because, there's so many forms of dance. There's ballet, jazz, Broadway, ballroom. What drew you to modern dance? And why Jose Limon? Because there's a lot of different dance companies, and what is Jose Limon's special style?
Mm-hmm. So I did a bunch of ballet and modern and musical theater. And musical theater was actually my first love. That's where I first started. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. I love it. But then I wanted to get I wanted to be the best of dancers that I could be. So I went to a dance school, and then I discovered ballet and discovered modern. And then I kind of bounced back and forth between the worlds. And I feel like for me, when I was introduced to the Limon technique was the first time I realized that dancing wasn't just a series of steps, that the steps were just the vehicle to expressing something. And the Limon work really opened that up for me. Because the Limon technique, when you're taking it in class, is really an exploration of your body weight. So now you can like do an arm and you can, do these shapes, but how you get from one arm to the next, like by using gravity or suspending against it, you're really starting to explore what it is to be a human being. Like every day we fight to wake up, we fight something, we're resisting gravity or we're giving into it. So when you can embody that when you're telling a story, it just changes. It's a difference between doing steps and actually expressing something. So for me, the Limon technique opened that world up. And then I haven't been able to walk away since.
Or dance away.
I have not been able to jete away since.
Can you sometimes during the performance as a dancer forget what's happening to the body and you get inside of your emotions?
That's usually the place I aim for. I mean, that's the best place to be when the steps are so secondary. They're just muscle memory. You don't even really have to think about them. And then you can let the moment take you away. And plus you're with other people on stage and they're having a moment and you're reacting to them and they're reacting to you. So there's this other synergy that happens beyond the steps. So hopefully that's the place you want to get to. Or you're
Yeah,
not
it's kind of, I mean, like theater, because they want you to remember there's an audience, but at the same time, forget about it. And that's
Exactly
the
right.
call. So is that the body and the emotions and your expression is also something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I know that there are people out there watching, but I also know that the people they're watching are really interested in what the people on stage are doing. So if what I'm doing is relating to the person on stage with me and they're getting something from me and I'm giving something to them, then the audience gets to witness that exchange. And the excitement of that exchange, I think, is what draws us in. So, really fine tuning how I'm responding and really listening to you with my body and you're really listening to me, then the audience feels that suspension, just waiting for the next thing to happen. And hopefully that's what keeps them coming back for more and more. And
when is the Hispanic Heritage in September happening and how can people see that?
yeah, so the performance, the film release party is September 17th at 7 p.m. And you can go to limon.nyc, limon.nyc, and we'll have all the information there. Right now, we're sort of just giving like little teaser ads about it, just like a little save the date. So we'll have more information sort of coming out every week leading up to the event.
Will it be a donation thing or a free thing or?
Yeah, we'll be accepting donations. And yeah, we'll be like doing a probably a YouTube or Vimeo version, that's the platforms we'll be using to get it out there.
And will it be available to see afterwards for like, in case we can't see it that particular day?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Well, you'll have to go to limon.nyc to see, to get the details on that.
And now we've got Seth Bisen-Hersh with us, who when this pandemic happened, it was horrible. Because his Love Quirks was finally being produced off Broadway. Finally. Wow. And boom, the pandemic comes and that's that. But you have a plan.
Well, we have a tentative plan, but yes, it was kind of depressing to spend 10 years of your life getting a show off Broadway. And we had our first preview on my birthday at the end of February, and it was the best birthday I've ever had. A lot of my friends came, and the show got stopped 4 times, and we had a standing ovation at the end. And then it was all downhill from there. But we managed to do 2 full previews a week, through 2 full weekends of previews. And then, we closed the show 3 days before opening night.
Oh.
We didn't get to have our big party or anything.
But we'll come back, right?
Well, we hope so. We're ready. It's not up to us. It's up to Governor Cuomo. Whenever he says, okay, you guys can have theater again, we will be back probably within 2 weeks of him saying you can have theater again. So that's the perk of a small 4-person show. We just need, a couple weeks to remount, and we'll probably be the first theater back, hopefully.
Which theater was that?
The St. Luke's Theater on 46th Street,
Okay.
where we played and repped with a few other shows. So we had 4 shows a week, and it was a dream come true. It was really wonderful 2 weekends of my life. Started off as a song cycle of my songs in 2010, which is 10 years ago. We did a version at Don't Tell Mama, where I do my weekly showcases. Of course, now I do them virtually on YouTube and Facebook every Tuesday at 7, but I had done 583 at Don't Tell Mama from 2007 to 2020. And now I've actually done 19 virtually. We're doing 20 and 21 this coming Tuesday, the 25th. I have shows at 3 and 7 because the 3 is a UK cast. But we had done, I had done cabarets of songs for years, since like the early 2000s. And I had done, I think at that point, 7 cabarets of my works. And then she dumped me, The Gay Straight Man Alive, Meaningful Sex, Neurotic Tendencies, Why Am I Not Famous Yet, Writer's Block, and I'll Relax When I'm Dead. And I noticed I started doing these concerts called Broadway Meows and Broadway Can for the Humane Society and City Harvest. And I noticed when people would choose the songs to sing, they would all pick the same ones, and they were all my quirky love songs. And so I had the epiphany, in 2010, song cycles were very popular. And so I was like, I could easily do a song cycle of songs I already have. I already had probably almost 200 at that point. Now I think I have closer to 300 or 400. But so I took the popular ones that all had to do with quirky love. I put them in one evening in 2010, and everyone loved it. And my friend Brian Childers, who's a Helen Hayes Award winner, which I mention all the time because he mentions all the time, he was in it, and he was like, this is totally a musical, Seth. It's not a song cycle. So I had designed it for 4 different tracks, and he's like, these 4 characters are people we all know. And so we did a 4-person version of the song cycle, and then everyone was like, I want to know more about these characters. So Brian's brother, Mark Childers, happens to be a book writer, a playwright / screenwriter. And he's like, I'm going to bring my brother in. Let's have a meeting. And somehow Mark turned the whole thing into a musical. And I'll tell you, I had Mark on my podcast a couple weeks ago. My podcast comes out on Wednesdays. It's called Millennials Are Ruining the World, ? An exennial perspective, bridging the gap between generations X and Y. I'm not woke, but I'm awake. And I had Mark on to discuss writing, and he talked about, the topic was writing reality. And we had this hour-long discussion about how he took these songs, fleshed out the characters, added quirks to them so that they're not stereotypical. Because, people are not cookie cutter, so we have a jock, but he happens to love opera. So we throw in little quirks that make them human and not, completely archetypical stereotypes. And so we developed the show over those 10 years or so, and it changed a lot. And I rewrote a lot of lyrics, and we got rid of about, I think at least a third of the songs from the original version got cut, and I put in songs that were more specific for the situations, which is, of course, the way you really write a musical is usually, the story first. And so it was kind of backwards. But by the time we got to our reading in 2019, last November, we had finally ironed out everything so that it really finally started to work as a piece. That's also because of Brian, the director. It's brilliant. And he was there. And so Mark and I are very good together, but Brian is the missing ingredient that kind of makes the cake rise. Without him, we get to a certain level. So it's really the 3 of us. And I was actually, you see my background there is Switzerland. I was in Switzerland in August, and I just had this epiphany. I was like, you know what? I had taken a break from trying to produce my stuff. I did the whole UCB improv. I did all 4 courses of that. I did some voiceover classes, I did some acting classes, and I was exploring other things, but I was like, I was ready again. All of a sudden, we hadn't done a reading since 2015. It had been about 4 years, and I was like, I think I want to try one more time to shoot the moon with this project. And because of those 4 years, we were like, we can't write for people too much younger than we are, because, you know, we just, the more millennial you go, the less we know how to write for them. So we decided, you know, we need to just age these characters 4 years, and that put them in their early to mid 30s instead of their late 20s. And all of a sudden, that gave them a lot more depth and a lot more gravitas and misogos, to be Yiddish for a second. And I was like, this is great. And so we decided, Mark decided really, that the lead character, she was going to go through a divorce, because a lot of our friends have gone through divorces. And he's like, that explains. So we've always had her be anti-men and really bitter, but we never knew why. So giving that new level of, she's going through a divorce, which means we had to raise the stakes for the guy, that he had a broken engagement because his fiance cheated on him. All of a sudden, we start these characters in such an emotionally grounded place that anyone can relate to. And that really, it elevated the show. You know, the show has always been good. I think in 2011, the first reading, people still loved the show. Ed Gaines of the St. Luke's Theater, he's wanted the show since 2011, but it took all these years and that time off. And then looking at all the lyrics at 2019, when I had not touched these songs in 4 years, and some of the songs I wrote, again, in the early 2000s, when I was going through things, a lot of them are based on my own life. I was now at a place where we were so far removed that we could really look at everything objectively and say, you know, this lyric doesn't quite work anymore. And I think that that's why it takes that long. It takes that long for that reason. It takes that long because, you know, you're raising money. And over the years, I started to accumulate investors, but this reading was so good. I believe that 90% of the potential investors who came ended up investing. And that's when I knew we finally had gotten there. You could feel the energy there. And it's like, that's a story I tell to young composers is, you know, you put on these readings and stuff, but if you bring certain people in too early in the process, they're going to never want to come back to see your show again. You get one chance with each person. Even if there's potential, a lot of people there's something off about it, and that you have to wait until it has been 10 years of development, and then you finally are like, now it's ready. But it takes a long time. And so it took us a very long time. We got it off Broadway. Then we didn't open. But we are doing the cast recording, which I believe was probably the original question, is what's your plan? I'm happy to report that they are allowing recording again. So we are recording our cast recording with the cast, and I orchestrated, since I've had a lot of time, I ended up adding a cello, which I think will be super fun. So we're gonna have a 4-person orchestra, 4-person cast. We bring them all in one at a time to the recording booth, and then we have to, you know, aerate the booth and whatever. But I'm super excited about that. And we're doing a big concert on September 10th, which is a Thursday at 7, which is the same platform. It's called StreamYard, that I use for all my virtual showcases, which are Tuesdays at 7. And that goes out on Facebook Live. It'll be on the Love Quirks Facebook page, my professional Facebook page, but it's facebook.com/lovequirks. And it'll also be on my live stream YouTube page, which is tinyurl.com/sethbh.com. And all of that stuff that I put on to answer Ava's question from before to Dante, all my shows are up forever because I don't see any reason for them not to be. So you can watch this concert we're doing virtually 20 years from now and still donate to the Love Quirks CD if you wanted to. But yes, it's a fundraiser. We have a suggested donation. I don't enforce it. You know, you can actually now on Facebook enforce people paying to see your shows, but I find that it's better to just suggest it and tell people, if you can't afford $10, then please share it and see if we can get to people who can afford $10. And, you know, some of my showcases have reached over 2,000 views at this point, mostly the ones with kids in them because the parents really go whole hog, I've found. But it's amazing. And that's like, again, a perk is I know my friend in India watches most of the time. And so it's like, we're getting into these people who don't even know what cabaret is. You know, I put an ad in Backstage. I had 200 submissions for the virtual showcases, and I filled all the way through the end of October. And I have people, I don't think I get all 50 states. I think we're missing Alaska, but we got a lot of the states.
Sounds wonderful. I can't wait for September 10th and September 17th. So September is looking very good.
Yeah, it's Thursdays.
And we'll put all the information for both Dante and Seth at the end of the show so people can tune in and donate. And anyway, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us.
Okay, so I my eye caught this performance. This was very wonderful. It was Beckett's. It's called the Park Bench Theatre, and it's taking place in York, England. And I'm always very fascinated by the park benches because I like to do something like that, you know. And it was Beckett. And can you believe it? The title of this play was called First Love. Coming from Beckett, this is a very unusual story. But it was a short story he wrote in 1946. And this is long before he wrote all his existentialist threat of the fear of the death plays, you know. But this play is also kind of like a person who's very completely isolated, not Corona time, like 1946. He is into solitude and he doesn't want to communicate with any human beings. And he's sleeping on the park bench, but he's not a homeless person, you know, he's a real person. And so this performance has been transmitted to the audience members in the real park through the headphones. You know, they have headphones, he has headphones. So it's just a monologue, but he encounters a woman, you know, who's kind of like very fascinating. She's a complete stranger and he does not want ever to be involved with anybody. So he shuns her off a lot. But the more he does that, the more he gets infatuated with her, you know? And it's just like so wonderfully done. It seemed like the woman is there on the bench. Sometimes the bench becomes the woman in a way, you know? And the actor's name is Chris Hannon, and it was directed by Matt Aston. And it was just like very moving. And you remember how some of those little things about what is the meaning of life, what is the meaning of death, we all waiting for death, came through. And you could imagine Beckett's other plays like, you know, perhaps Last Tape and Waiting for Godot, but it's absolutely different. So it was really, really fascinating. I really enjoyed it. If you can get the chance, just watch it.
I actually went to a live show.
I can't believe it. Okay.
They made these masks for us to wear. That's my mask that they gave us to wear. It was called Quince, and it was a quinceanero, and it was in the People's Garden in Brooklyn, in Bushwick. And we all came in, you know, the actors all had masks, we all had masks. It was so nice to be able to applaud with other people and to hear applause. I mean, my son laughs at me because I see these shows. I was watching Newsies and I'm applauding and standing up, and it's like, who's watching you but me? And it's stupid. But you know, you get so yes. And so Quince is going on. It was the team produced it. It was this charming little play about, you know, this, you know, mothers and daughters and, you know, dealing with sexuality and religion. It was cute and funny and the audience had a great time. But before we run out of time, our very own Jan Ewing has his play Nursery Rhymes coming to Zoom. So
wow.
Tell us about that. We have Jan to interview now.
Well, thank you, Eva. My play Nursery Rhymes, which we did on stage in New York City last year, was rewritten for Zoom and premiered last Tuesday for an initial run through tomorrow, August 30th. It's free and available on demand on YouTube at the address above, but I sort of agree with Seth. It might be up there forever given the nature of the technology. Nursery Rhyme looks at late pregnancy. 30-somethings Chip and Irene have been arguing about having a child. Irene wants one, Chip doesn't. So Irene invites Frank and Marge over for an arm-twisting party. Marge's son Mike was born when she was 38. He's now 12, so Irene expects support, but Chip is prepared, Marge is menopausal, and it's always a mistake to assume anything. It's very funny, and Zoom worked out much better than I'd hoped. The software is getting better, and I think online is here to stay, whatever happens when the pandemic ends. That said, I do miss live theater, so it will be interesting to see what happens.
Looking forward to it.
I will send you a link. Right.
Please do.
Greetings. This is Jay Michaels. I hope you're all well. And this is Indie in 60. Today, we're discussing a tale of two Anthonys. Anthony Piccioni's new play, One Empire Under God, is a dystopian sci-fi political drama in 2 acts, which tells the story of how an emotionally disturbed man, with the help of virtual media technology, is able to rise to power by inciting an uprising against America's openly atheist president and subverting democratic and military rule throughout Western civilization, paving the way for him and his descendants to rule for generations to come. Don't you hate it when sci-fi starts to look real? Fundraising efforts can be found at patreon.com, Patreon.com, One Empire Under God, one word, patreon.com/One Empire Under God. And now to our next Anthony. By the way, they must have told Anthony Laura that there isn't a pandemic and there isn't a lockdown, because his company, Face to Face Films, is expanding exponentially with new creative partners and a bigger ensemble. His reading series, Theater Interrupted, is leading the way in terms of Zoom presentations, with a critically acclaimed series continuing through the end of the year with original and previously produced plays and screenplays. And there's even a web series and feature film in the works. Go get him, Anthony. Visit face2facefilms.net for further information. Next week, we'll discuss the rise of Jan Ewing. Until then, this is Jay Michaels. Well.
Dante and high drama, and where nobody is giving up right now. So yay to everyone, and